Hello everyone and welcome to the Friday Stinger here on October 30th, 2020. For today's challenge, we have to get to round 100 only using Etienne, one village and one engineer. So let's see how we do. So in this case, I go ahead and I place all three towers right here on this square. We're going to go ahead and we will level up Etienne to level 10. We will get our village to a 200 and we will get our engineer to a 032 and we'll put them on strong as well. For this early game, it's important to use Etienne's abilities, so I'll be showing you here how we use them. So I'll go ahead and I'll wait for the UCAV to come up and I'll immediately use it to pop the Moabs and the ceramics that follow. So as you can see here, I go ahead and I use the UCAV right there. Kills everything pretty easily there. For round 51, I go ahead and I wait a few seconds for some camo ceramics to enter, and then I'll use the drone swarm ability, as you can see here. So pretty easy to take care of once you use the ability. For round 52, I wait for both Moabs to arrive on screen before I use UCAV once again. Our defense isn't really able to defeat the Moabs, so that's why I use UCAV quite a bit, as you can see. Once again, on round 53, I use UCAV again. For round 54, I choose to save the UCAV and I go ahead and I just use the drone swarm again, just because I know that for round 55 I'm going to need UCAV, so just make sure that I have the ability up. I go ahead and I use it. At the end of round 55 we get overclock, so that will help with buffing Etienne, so it'll help a lot since the damage for the drones is greatly increased. For round 56 I use drone swarm again. I use UCAV for round 57. I would suggest using UCAV sparingly since it takes a while for the ability to cool down, and drone swarm with overclock does a pretty good job anyway. So I go ahead and I save UCAV once again for round 59, and I just use drone swarm instead, which does a pretty good job. And then I use UCAV for round 60 since the BFB is a little bit harder to kill and we don't have that much Moab damage. For round 61, I chose to level up Etienne to level 12 because I tried completing this round without him at level 12 and I was having quite a tough time. So round 62, I'm able to get the MIB for my village. For round 63, I would recommend using the drone swarm right once you see the second wave of ceramics. And once you see the third wave of ceramics, then you can go ahead and use the UCAV ability. So after this, then the next few rounds are pretty easy. I would encourage you to play around with the abilities and use them however you'd like. It doesn't really matter. For round 70, as you can see, I would definitely recommend using some kind of ability. In this case, I used drone swarm because my defense was being a little overwhelmed here. For round 75, go ahead and use the drone swarm ability whenever you'd like, but I would definitely recommend holding off the UCAV until the end of round 75 because you will definitely need it for round 76. So as you can see here, I wait as long as I can until I really need to use UCAV, and then I go ahead and use the ability, as you can see there, and then round 76 happens in just a blink, so it's pretty easy. We'll jump ahead to round 78 over here when I use the UCAV ability right once I see the first wave of ceramics. So as you can see, I see the first wave and I use the UCAV. I don't have to worry about cooldown or anything because by the time the next the camo ceramics arrive, the UCAV ability will be up once again. So as you can see here, there's the camo ceramics and the UCAV is ready to use, which I use right there. For round 81, we're introduced to super ceramics, so I go ahead and I use my drone swarm ability to pop the BFBs into Moabs and ceramics, and then when I see my defense getting overwhelmed, I go ahead and I use my UCAV. So you'll notice that for the most part, the drone swarm is taking care of the BFBs and turning them into a lot of ceramics and Moabs. I saw at this point that my defense was getting overwhelmed, so I went ahead and I used it. Pretty easy, I would say. Round 84 is just an example of what I thought I would show you for when you should use the UCAV ability. So as you can see here, there's a lot of Moabs there. We'll go ahead and we'll jump to round 90 where we have to use the drone swarm ability to pop the DDTs. Right once we pop it, you will notice that Etienne has reached max level, so now we have a permanent UCAV, which is nice. For round 95, I would say to use the Drone Swarm ability the second you see the DDTs, and then be ready to use the UCAV ability once you see the first DDT round the corner onto the horizontal path of the map. So you'll notice that right once it gets onto the horizontal path, I will use UCAV. The balloons get pretty close to the exit, as you'll see right here in a second, but our defense is able to take care of it. I would strongly recommend being very careful of when balloons get that close to the exit, no matter how many lives you have, and you'll see why in just a moment. So drone swarm comes up once again, as you just saw, and I'm able to use it again for the end of this round. At round 96, we can finally afford Ultra Boost, so that adds the permanent incremental buffs to Etienne, which is nice. So we go ahead and we use that. For round 98, I hold off on the abilities, mainly because I want my defense to pop the fortified BFBs into Moabs and Ceramics first. The reason why I do that is because I know my defense is going to get overwhelmed with that many balloons so densely packed. So I went into the final second, Ultra Boost Etienne, and then I use the UCAV ability there so that the UCAV is also buffed. If you don't want to wait that long to use the ability, that's totally fine as well, but I would recommend using it near the end of the round though. I would Drone Swarm afterwards as well, with helping to finish off any fortified BFBs and ZOMGs remaining. So in this case, Drone Swarm almost has a full uptime as well, which means that you can use the ability and it can be almost ready to use once again when the extra drones retreat. So in this case, you know, you're still completely fine with using the Drone Swarm ability, and you don't really need to save up for it. But definitely keep the UCAV ability ready to go whenever you need it. So in this case, once again, like I mentioned, I use UCAV. The Drone Swarm is right there, which takes care of the insides and helps with defeating the last few Moabs and the ZOMGs that are left. You'll notice that at this point the drones are now gone, but the Drone Swarm ability is back up again, so I can just use it whenever I would like. So it does a pretty good job there. What I'm showing you here is a failed clip of round 99, so I got a little too carried away and I thought that the UCAV ability would be able to pop the DDTs and their insides, but obviously not. So I actually had to hit continue and retry round 99 again. To be fair, I decided not to use Ultra Boost for this round, just to show that when you're not stupid, you can, and actually use Drone Swarm and UCAV at the same time, which I would definitely recommend doing. This round, as you can see, is pretty easy. So at the end of round 99, we'll go ahead and get Call to Arms. And for round 100, we'll actually hold off on using Call to Arms, mainly because I want the ability to be used at the same time as UCAV. So as you'll see, I patiently wait for the ability to come up. I continue using the drone swarm because why not, and the Ultra Boost obviously. And then as you'll notice, in just 1 second, UCAV is going to come up. And in this case, Ultra Boost comes up at about the same time as well. So we're basically buffing the UCAV to the most that we possibly can. So there's the Drone Swarm. I go ahead and I Ultra Boost and then use the UCAV and Call to Arms. So that is like the best way to do as much damage to the bad as possible. So you might have just noticed that the DDTs were popped relatively easily, and Drone Swarm comes up once again, and we're able to defeat the challenge. This is a little bit of a longer video because I had to explain how to use all the abilities and everything as well, but I hope you enjoyed. If you did, please be sure to like and subscribe since it really helps my channel. Other than that, take care and have a great day.